Alright, so today we're going to be unboxing this loom kit and also doing a review. So I got this at Michael's. Loops and Threads is the Michael's brand. I have my receipt here. You can see the original price is $29.99. I saved $9, so it was $20.99. And of course I live in Alberta, so we only have the GST there for a total of $22.04 Canadian. If you live in the US, you could probably find it for cheaper and with a better coupon probably. This is the round loom kit. So let's open it up. I've cut the tape already. It just opens up from the side here. Okay, so you can see we've got these round pieces, 2 of each, I think. Let me just take this all the way out. Hey, mine's broken. All right, so it comes with a darning needle. It's not a very pointy needle, but not bad. It's got a big head on it, so you can use your chunkier yarns. It's got instructions. Looks like it's how to use a knitting rake and how to use the round looms, although no knitting rake material in here. We'll look at that in a minute. Okay, so back to this. We've got sets of pegs. These are the thick pegs and these ones are thinner. That sets your gauge. We've got a hook here. It's got a plastic thing on the end. I'm just gonna throw that out. Let's compare it to my preferred hook. You can see it doesn't have quite the same angle. I don't know if this is maybe just the new style of hooks that they use. I prefer the sharper angle personally, so I'm going to be using, I'll probably use this one during the testing of this. All right, so we've got pieces here, so you can make your small loom, I guess. I counted these earlier and there's 18 holes on the sides, so I'm guessing there's 36 holes for pegs in total. Okay, and you see there's nothing holding these together. That's what the pegs are for. I might have to turn the sound down on that. That was very loud. All right, so there's our 3 round looms. I'll grab my tape measure here. Let's see. So the small one's about 5 inches. And if we just measure where the holes are, it's actually closer to 4.5. It's about 7 and just over 9. 9.25 maybe inches. Now the idea behind these is you build the loom yourself. I'm just going to use these big pegs for now. So let's see. So what you do is, okay, so you see how you've got that tongue there and that's the hole it goes in? What you want to do is put one of your pegs in there. And now that's held together. Ideally you want to have it at both sides. Like so. Now this one is an interesting design because I have the old Martha Stewart Build Your Own Loom that was a similar idea, but the pegs on that one were friction fit, and these ones, if I show you here, maybe we can get it to, you can see it's got like a little peg or a little, what is that, a little bump there. So it clicks in, which is very handy. Let's see if we can hear that. Nope. Let's try another one. I don't know. They're actually quite difficult to get out. This might not be the best thing for everybody, but I do like that they stay in better. The Martha Stewart ones, I'd be, knitting a hat on them and then a peg would just pop out. I don't think that'll happen here, but I guess we'll find out when I use it. If I compare it to my orange loom, it's roughly the same size as the big circle. You see it's a little bit bigger, but I think I'll get the same results. So I'm going to try making a hat with this one, except I'm not going to put the pegs in every hole because I'm going to be using a thicker yarn, and I won't need quite so many. I think you would put a peg in every hole if you were using like a worsted weight, or maybe even smaller than that. I'll see if I can play with that a little. Okay. All right, so there's 38 holes on a side. Oh, I just realized this is a little tippy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a peg in every other hole, and that'll give me 38 stitches, which I think is good. Let me just compare the distance between the two pegs. Yeah. So this will give me a very slightly bigger hat, but that's fine. I'm going to go ahead and put all these pegs in then. Okay, so I got all my pegs in and now my fingers hurt. I actually have, look, that wasn't even all the way in. I actually have very strong fingers because I'm a retired musician. I used to play the piano. Like they're not even all down. I think they might stay in place when I'm knitting though. Now, one thing I've noticed that I like here is when you put the peg in, there's not a hole at the bottom. I like that. Now you'll see on this loom, there's a dent, but there's not a hole. And that's a bad example because I've glued that one back in. Let's go to one I haven't done that on. What happens when you're knitting is often you'll go all, because you're getting the bottom loop, right? So you'll go all the way to the bottom and this will slide right off. Let me try. Yeah, this is not too bad. Let me grab another loom and show you. All right, so this is a loom from the 4 round loom set from Nifty Knitter. And I don't know if you can see, there is a hole at the base of these pegs. So often when you're going down, your hook gets stuck. And that will slow you down. Now, if you're not very fast to begin with, this kind of loom is fine. But I'm pretty fast and this slows me down a lot. I'm trying to make something on this. So I like that this doesn't have that hole at the bottom, that when you scoop, it just bounces off the loom. So we'll see how that goes. One last thing, you might be wondering why not just make them a round loom? Like, why not just make it one piece of plastic? Why is it these two pieces? And the reason for that is because you can buy straight pieces. This is the basic starter set. I actually bought myself this for Christmas using Christmas money. And it makes these sort of square looms. You can work around these. I find the corners are a little bit weird. You kind of have to skip that corner one if you want to make a circle. But these are mainly used for knitting rakes. And I'll do a video on how to use that. But what you can do is grab the pieces from this set and expand your round looms. Let's put this one in. And expand your round looms like so. Now this will make a circle. It's an oval, but your fabric will be just as circular as if it was an actual circle loom. Just because of the way the stitches are set out. You could also use like all the biggest pieces. So you got the biggest pieces from this loom, and then these super long pieces that come in this set. You can even link all of the shorter ones together to make it even longer. You can do blankets this way. I like the idea. It's the execution that I'm wondering about. a day. All right, so I'm gonna go make a hat on this guy that I just built and let you know if all the pegs stayed in. Okay, so I finished my first hat on the new loom, and it worked up pretty easily. It worked up very similarly to when I used my orange loom. One thing I noticed is these sort of blocky tops felt different to hold when I was moving the yarn around. It wasn't too bad though. I don't think it'll be a problem with multiple hats. We'll see. I did about 3 stitches with the hook that came with the kit before I switched to my usual one. This is just a personal preference. I wonder if you could just like heat this up and bend it a little more if you really needed to. I don't know if that would make it weak or not. If you know somebody who's handy, ask them. Okay, so I used my regular hook for this. I also used my regular needle because, again, I don't actually like the needle that came with it. It's perfectly fine if you're not super choosy. And it's better than the one that I used if you're using thicker yarn because it's got the bigger eye. Let me just show you the comparison here. It's a little bit longer too, but it's a much bigger eye. But you can see my white one here is pointier. And I just like that better. When I weave in my ends, I generally try to stab through part of the yarn that I've already woven in, and a pointy needle helps with that. So I was mainly reviewing the loom for this hat, and I like how the hat came out. If we compare it to the a hat that I made on the orange loom, you can see they look very similar. The one on the orange loom is ever so slightly smaller. You can see we're looking more or less straight down, and you can see the edges here. That's just 2 extra stitches. Okay, hello there. Let's compare them as far as weight goes, because I used the same kind of yarn. I used 73 grams on this hat, and then less, actually, 71 grams on this hat. That could be due to a bunch of different things. It looks like my brim is roughly the same size and the hat's roughly the same size, but you know, there are variations. This one was a striping yarn. This one I used 2 colors of solid yarn. I was just using up scraps. That could be what the difference is. You never know. So it's roughly the same, we'll say. Generally speaking though, the experience was quite nice. And at this point, I would say, especially if you have a coupon, I would get this loom set. All right, so the next thing I'm going to test is how easy is it to pull all of these pegs out. If you recall, it hurt putting them in. So let's see. Oh, before I do that, I just want to point out there's no side peg on this loom. And I also haven't marked it up with my Sharpie like I did on the others. What I used was this join and the one on this side to start my 2 colors away from each other. So I actually am not going to start on a peg near there. So, oh my gosh. Okay, that wasn't too bad. All right, that wasn't as bad as putting them in was. I feel I should point out again, I am a retired musician. I played the piano. I had very strong grip, and I still do. And those were not as hard to pull out as they were to put in, but they were still, I mean, if you have grip problems, I don't think this is going to work for you. I think if you don't have grip problems, or if you have someone in your house who doesn't, who can do this for you, it's still pretty good. When I was knitting with it, I did have one peg that had lifted out just a tiny bit, and some of my yarn sort of snagged under there, but it was super, like, once you put your hook in there, it came right out. So there is that. I think the next thing I want to try, I'm just trying to think of what the next thing I want to try is. I think I might want to make a hat using worsted weight. That will need the smaller pegs. once again. I mean, look how pink my fingers are. That was tricky. I'm gonna say this is not the loom for people who have finger problems. But I've got my loom set up here. I haven't worked with pegs this small or that thin of yarn on a loom in a long time, so I think this hat's gonna take me a little longer. I mean, it's gonna take longer anyway because of the thinner yarn, but I guess we'll see. Okay, I'm not at my desk right now, and I don't know if you can hear the microwave running, but making this with the worsted weight yarn, that's the smallest I can make that hole. So I'm thinking maybe a pom-pom on this one. I'm gonna have to do the finish wrap-up video tomorrow. And don't mind the cat. All right, so it's the next day. I did finish the hat last night, and this is how it turned out. The top I did the way I normally do, where I, on the inside, when I'm weaving in that last end, I go halfway around, across, and then a quarter of the way around, and whatever. You know, check my other videos for how I do that. And it's fine. The hat would be fine this way. I'm still going to make a pom-pom. I might do a video on how, see, you can still see the hole. I might do a video on how to use a pom-pom maker. I don't know. Let's see how much this one weighs. So about the same as the others, but this is a thinner yarn. It'll probably be twice the yardage. All right, so let's take a look at the guide that comes with it. I probably should have started with this. Instructions on how to put it together. And more about the other pieces, or the other kits. Some general how to use a knitting loom, and the various stitches and things you might see in the patterns in the book, presumably. So these notes start with, well, it's got the E-wrap, which is the stitch I was doing on my hats for this video. It shows using one side of the straight looms, which are not in this kit, but the instructions are the same. Okay. Yeah, it's got different stitches you can do. I don't know, I find the pictures are very, maybe I need to clean my glasses, but the pictures are very washed out. I would say until I get around to making videos on how to do these stitches, I recommend Purling Sprite on YouTube. Okay. So then there's flat panel knitting. Yep, that's still that. Now we're into the round loom. So this is, you're going to start on page 7 for the round looms, if you only have this one kit. There's the drawstring bind off that I use. See, I see their hat is very scrunched up at the top too. All right, and the rest is double knitting. You can only do that with the straight ones. You could probably do some double knitting if you can somehow rig your looms up like this. You want to make sure the pegs you put in the bigger loom is the same number of pegs as you have in the smaller loom for it to work. Or skip some if you don't feel like pulling them out. But I'd say that's more of an advanced technique. You need to keep this inner circle from moving. I would probably employ some like pipe cleaners or something janky like that. Anyway, so this stuff is mostly for the straight looms. Bind off. And now I'm into the French instructions, so the rest will be the same. Did we see this in the first book? Hang on. In the French. Oh no, there's ours. I don't know how I missed this. Okay, so the instructions here for pulling the double knitting off doesn't apply to this loom, I'm sorry, but this just bothers me. It has you just take the whole thing off and then use a crochet hook, which is not included, to bind off. You don't need to do it that way. There's a way to do it on the loom. And it's a shame they don't, show you how to do that. Anyway, the instructions are fine. They'll get you started if you prefer a picture tutorial. If you want to make a hat like the ones I did, I've got a video on that. So, I don't know, I'll link it up there or something. So overall, okay, here's what you get in the kit. You get 3 sizes of round loom. Each round loom comes in 2 pieces that you can put together. And if you have other kits, you can expand these. That's why they're in 2 pieces. You get a bunch of these bigger pegs for your thicker yarns. and you get a bunch of the little pegs for the thinner yarns. I actually found the smaller pegs easier to put in and take out. That was just a first impression though. I would say this is not the loom to get if you have problems with your fingers, if you've got arthritis or anything that's causing your grip not to be too great. If you really, really want them and you do have hand problems, get somebody who doesn't have hand problems to maybe build the loom for you. But because it is generally speaking a very good loom. I hate that it doesn't lie flat, but it's almost never sitting on the table. So at any rate, is it worth the money? I think so, especially if you use a coupon. Since this is a Loops and Threads product, you can only get it from Michaels and they always have a coupon. If for some reason you can't find a coupon, wait a week and you'll find a coupon. They also give discounts for teachers, military, and seniors. I believe the seniors is 55 and older. You have to ask though. So yeah, I would say get it. I'm gonna play with this some more. See, the problem with these static looms like this is you get this huge bunching at the top. The more stitches you have, the more bunched it's going to be, and that's fine. It's a hat, it'll keep somebody's head warm. But in order to get a nicer top, you need to be able to decrease, and you can do a certain amount of decreasing on these looms, but for real decreasing, you're going to want to get a flexi loom. I'm going to try and do a video on those soon. But those ones have the ability to change the size of the loom as you're working without having to take the project off. So look for that in the future. In the meantime, thanks for watching. Yeah, Wolfie's helping me do this video today.